first thing I'm going to do, guys, everyone watching or listening anywhere around the world, this is episode 509 of the Simply Inspired podcast presenting champions. And it's Liam Hartree back with you today, joined by a living legend, the man himself, Andy Goy. We're going to be talking today about this man's incredible transformation from not only the way that people perceive him being the notorious and well-known fighter that he is, one of the toughest guys in the UK. But we're going to be talking about how God and Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, has changed this man's life and can
Yeah.
change yours as well. So I'm going to say that today this is a very inspirational story with a really strong spiritual meaning behind what we're doing. And Andy has kindly agreed to this to help others, to help you guys, to help people you know, anyone listening to this who needs to find that connection with God, deepen that connection with God. And we can prove today that anyone can change. If this man can do it, then anyone can do it. And I've got to say that having had personal experiences with this kind of transformation myself, I know this is going to be a really, really powerful story. So, Andy, mate, big thank you for making time for this. Really appreciate it, brother. God bless.
No problem. No problem. And thank you for having me on. It's nice to be a part of it.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure. I mean, like I say, I do this to help others, and I know you've got that same intention. And I'm
Awesome.
actually gonna kick things off with that. To be fair, I'm actually
Yeah.
gonna start with when God came into your life and when your life started to change, when you started to move in a different direction. We
Yeah.
can talk about some other things afterwards, but
Yeah.
I actually want to kick things off with that topic, please, mate. Thank you.
With the godly side, I'd say when I look back in my life, Liam, from the more connected with God I've got today, I would say I've always had God in my life, but I've not realised it until probably I would have said 4 or 5 years ago it came to my heart. But properly, it's been in the last 7 or 8 months I've got really powerful and intellectual with my godly side, because it's what helps me to stay clean and sober, because I was in addiction for so long. Obviously in the fighting game and everything, and it's nice to be straight-headed and clean, and it's all for the grace of God that I do it. If I can't spend 20 minutes in the morning reading my Bible app or my Bible and just reading a chapter out of the Bible, but I can spend 6 or 7 hours like most people can on the phones, I'm thinking I'm not really living my life properly like I should be. So that's how God's entered my life. I think, right, if I can't do them 20 minutes or 15 minutes in the morning, but yeah, I can do 3 or 4 hours looking at a car, or something that we get obsessed with, because with that addictive personality, it can be anything. But today it's the gym and obviously my boxing. So yeah, it's amazing. It's great.
It's an amazing transformation, really inspirational, and I appreciate you kicking things off with that. Now,
Yeah,
I would like to also touch on the addiction side of things. And just to be
of
clear, mate,
course.
everything that we talk about today is always to help others. It's never to sort of probe
Yeah,
into your
definitely.
life. I only say that because I know you've had some big interviews with the big newspapers, and I know what they're like, always looking for an angle to try
Yeah,
and show.
yeah,
But I'm not like that. I'm all about, helping other people. So when we're talking
yeah.
about the addiction, we'll get your advice on how to beat it now in a moment. But before we do, how long were you struggling with that kind of thing, all in all, when you kind of look back on the years of battling these addictions now?
I'd, I'd say like from an early childhood, because my mum and dad, obviously my dad was quite, when we was growing up, me and my brother as children, obviously we lost my sister before I was born. She died of sepsis at 2.5, bless her. Um, and me and my brother was like, I'd say through the childhood we had like we was obviously trying always fighting with each other. He was bullying me because he was the older brother, and we had a bar built in a house, on a council estate. Loved it. I can remember it like it was yesterday, St. Michael's Avenue. And we had a bar, and I used to sneak into the bar, and I'd nick bottles of baby sham when I was probably 5 or 6 years old. So it would have started from an early childhood. But obviously the odd bit here and the odd bit there, I thought, no, I'm all right, I'm all right. But I would say that I noticed my addiction probably in 2007, 2008, when it really got bad because of my drug misuse. My drug of choice is totally different to a lot of people. My drug drug of choice was obviously GHB, and not a lot of people understand about that drug. Now, people call it the rape drug, and people have spiked women in nightclubs and that, which I get. Raoul Moat and stuff was through the GHB with the shooting and everything, killing the coppers. But mine was obviously through me and my brother because we were so close, and I tried it. I was kind of like, it was a drug that I've took when I've took other drugs, and I thought this drug kind of made me feel confident. And I thought, wow, I've never had a drug that makes me feel confident, and I loved it from day one. So I just thought, yeah, I can take it here and there. Never realised I was an addict for that long, but I'd say in probably 2007 it hit me really bad when I was really taking it every day. I was getting it from the gym. I was getting it from people that because it was quite a big drug in Nottingham when I was living in Nottingham. So yeah, I ended up applying for a rehab with my mum because she did a lot of counselling for the private clinic on Ransom Road in Nottingham. So I went on a 4-week detox, which was funded by the NHS. I had to go to a meeting every Wednesday. I was falling asleep in the meetings. I was really bad. It hit me really bad. But I never actually admitted that I had a problem with alcohol. I was kind of hiding that because I didn't really think I did. I thought I'm all right to have a drink here and there. But later on in my life, I realised that I was actually an alcoholic as well. Um, so yeah, I'd say about 2008. When 2009, I went into private clinic and I went for it was a 28-day detox. It was a high diazepam detox, which then started to get the addiction of unprescribed medication like diazepam, tramadol. I've had problems with my legs because I injected steroids for probably 20 years. I was taking them from the age of 15. So yeah, it would have hit me then. And then I went in the Priory and I came out and I had a little bit of knowledge. I was doing a 12-step program. Didn't realize it was the 12 steps to God, but my high power was God there. And then I was going to meetings and I was kind of going to these meetings and not realizing that it was really to get well, but talking to others. I didn't really reach out properly and get deep into what was really the problem from what started my addiction. But it was probably when I was young and I got abused and I got attacked in the woods. I remember it like it was just, I was talking to my auntie about it last night. I got attacked in the woods by a paedophile. Um, Very hit me really bad. And I think when I look back today, that was probably what has made me the person I was for over 20 years of my addiction. And I wasn't a nice guy, When I was in the addiction, I didn't really know what I was doing when I was in the addiction and the drink and the alcohol. It changes you. But today, I'm not that person anymore. We can't change what's happened. I changed the person I am today. And, tomorrow's not here yet. But I try and do everything I can for the best of my ability. Sometimes I still get things wrong. We were born to sin, like it says in Romans 8. Little scriptures like that touch my heart. But that would have been later on when my recovery process came to going to the Carpenter's Arms. I decided to try a Christian rehab. I don't know what made me think about going to Christian rehab, but I just it was inspiring to go. And then obviously I started reading the Bible and scriptures were hitting me. Um, the guys that were running the place and the tutors that was in the lessons was actually giving me Bible scriptures to understand the Bible in the New Testament because it was easier to understand. Um, and I got really deep into it, and it actually broke me down, and I surrendered to God, and I thought I need to change. And then, unfortunately, my brother passed away through addiction, through heroin and crack addiction, while I was in rehab. So I left, but I went to a Christian hostel called the Lighthouse Homes in Rotherham. I went there and back a few times. The staff were amazing. The Bible college that I went at is a staff member that I'm kind of very close with, and I think a lot of the guy because he's done a lot for me. And I think he's been a part of my recovery where I am today, which I'm grateful for, and all the people that I've been through the Christian side of recovery because, it's been a blessing to me. So I'm grateful for all the people in my life through that. So yeah, that I'm not going to keep going on because I could go on for hours, Liam. So I'll let you ask the questions and I'll answer them.
It's okay, mate. It's okay. I mean, a big part of what I do is just being a good listener, and it's a very, very powerful message what you're saying there.
Yeah,
I appreciate you sharing it. Now, I want to ask as well, mate, people have like a public perception of you in the sense that, you've got this notorious sort of image from the fighting, from the bodybuilding, from, things like your relationship with Josie and all this stuff that's been in the papers. But you're a
yeah,
different guy now. You're a
yeah,
very different guy, and I want to
yeah.
focus on
Cool.
that. I want to
Liam, let
focus
me
on,
just shut the door on the call. Sorry, mate. One second.
yeah, no worries.
But because I put
A nice color shirt as well. I like that,
that's it.
mate.
It's funny.
Nice shade of red on your shirt. I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, but when I was saying like the public perception, you got like a public persona, and then you got like the real Andy behind the public persona. How do you deal with people who, sort of judge you or sort of have a perception of you being one way, and you've changed a lot and you've grown a lot and you're different now, and there's another guy behind the headlines kind of thing. How do you deal with that side of things when people approach you and they're like not sure what to make of you and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, because a lot of people do judge you before when they meet you, before they meet you, and then they see me, and then I kind of I like the way it is because then when I get speaking to them, some people take the time to speak to me. Other people will ignore me because they get this bad perception of my past, which kind of hurts a little bit because I think if they took that little time out to give me a chance to talk, they'd be realizing what a nice, kind person I am because I'm not that guy that people think I am. You know, a newspaper will write something about you because they need to sell the papers. The stories to everything with Josie, it didn't happen like they pursued it on the papers. We had quite a good relationship, but unfortunately it didn't work. So I left. Very sad really, but that got me closer to God as well, that relationship. So I'm grateful for that, you know. Every relationship I've been in has brought me closer to where I am today, and my partner that I'm with today is amazing. She's a blessing. Because we've got a gym and everything, and my life today is amazing. So, but I just give it all to God every day.
Absolutely. Now, the other thing as well, I mean, you mentioned that you've had this relationship with God for a long time, but in recent times it's developed and it's gotten a lot deeper. So, where does that leave you with the fighting side of things and, you're active? Because, I mean, I've seen things like the shadow boxer thing and, some of these
Yeah,
fights that are happening, but are you still continuing with the fighting side of things, or now that your relationship with God is as deep, are you gonna
I've
leave
kind
that?
of I've kind of like I've realized that the more like with the bare knuckle and everything that I've done in the past. I look at that and I think that was a bad part of life. I've got my professional boxing license, which was that was the kind of aim that I've always wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional boxer. I thought through all my career, I have had a lot of losses, but I always say that you learn from a loss. You know, um, and
Absolutely.
some people that lose a fight that takes them into serious negative things. And I think, you know what? And I always message people that lose a fight, and I go, look, you haven't lost. Every person that steps in the ring, there's no losers in them rings. It takes a lot of guts to step in the ring. I go out the ring to a ring walk, and I go out with God's child all over me. I've got my brother and my sister on my kit. I've got the Christian side to me when I go out. But obviously, when I walk out to the ring today, you have to own the ring to walk in. If you're walking in like with anxiety, which I do get, I've got very bad anxiety and mental health myself. So to walk out to the ring and people can see that, especially your opponent, you think, you know, it's hard. So you have to put this image on because I used to be called Andy Bad Boy Goy, and I thought I'm not Andy Bad Boy. I'm Andy God's child, so I've got it tattooed all over me, and I've got Andy God's child. I've got tattoos that mean something to me. That every tattoo's got a story behind it. What I've got. People ask me that, and people do look at me. They stare everywhere I go, and I think, wow, what are they looking at? But then I think, well, they've got. I look at myself and I think it's the tattoos and my tan, and I'm always tanned. Everyone says I've been away, and I'm like, no, I've just been on the sunbed. I have got an addiction with sunbeds, which I think, well, is that a bad thing? I think, well, no, at least I'm not doing what I used to do. But there are some things I still have to change. You know, when I read more about God, I think, should I really be doing that? You know, I work for Church on the Street now, so I do a lot of volunteering. On a Tuesday, I cook at a cafe because I've got my MVQ in cooking and I've got my health and hygiene certificate. So, you know, I run. I don't run it, but I cook a lot of stuff on Tuesdays at the cafe in Burnley. And I always do like a healthy meal every Tuesday. So we put something healthy on the menu, and people come in. You know, people come in to chat to me, and you know, we talk about God. We have a prayer meeting after, and it's amazing. You know, my church on the street people, them are like a family to me. You know, you have to have a church as well. But I always say we are the church wherever we go. You know, just because I'm in church today, I just think, well, I am the church because everywhere I go, I've got God in my life when I walk today, you know especially when you do think about sinning, because every day I do. I wake up and we do think about things. You think, oh, if I just did this, I just did that. But I go downstairs and I pray and I have a black coffee every morning. It's a routine that I have to do. And I have to have a set routine for my mental health because if I didn't, I'd be a mess. You know, I'd probably be back in my old ways. It's so easy to slip back into old ways and have a drink. You know, I went out for a meal last night with my mum and dad and my auntie and uncle, and they actually said to me, "Should we be having a drink, Andrew, with you around us?" I went, "Yeah." I says, "It doesn't bother me anymore, but it could have." But I appreciate what they said because that was a big thing for them to say that to me. Because I hadn't seen them for about 8 or 9 years, so I went out. It was nice to see them as well. And they was inspired because they didn't really know why I was the person I am, and I started telling them a little bit about my past. So that was nice to open up to them a little bit. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely. You see, that's the change in perception and people understanding you in a different way, right there. But I want to ask you something else that is, I think, really beneficial to people, and I think it's really going to help people. Is that you mentioned earlier? I think I might have frozen there, but
yeah.
anyway, I mentioned earlier about or you mentioned about the terrible situation that happened to you when you were growing up in the woods. Now, I don't want to dwell on that for you because I know how painful it
No,
must
no,
be.
you
But
can
for
you can
other,
talk about it. I actually talk about it now. So
yeah, well, I respect the vulnerability of something like that because it's life changing, and that's what I
yeah,
want to focus on. Other people who've had something like that happen to them, even if they haven't told anyone, because it
yeah,
can be
yeah.
very isolating. That's a big part. It's very
Of course
isolating.
you can. Yeah.
Um, what would you say to those people who've had something like that happen to them, or they've been in that situation, whether it's men or women or anybody, it doesn't matter.
I think it happens to a lot of people, like because I think a lot of mental health people that, what I talked to you about Children's Street, a lot of them have been through abuse as childs, but they've been through it with the parents or the family members. I was pretty blessed with my family. My mum and dad are amazing, I had 10 years where I didn't get on with my mum through my addiction, which I kind of understood why she walked away from me and my brother because it hurt her that much. She had to walk away. But today, I have a different relationship. I go to my mum's every weekend. I sleep at my mum's, and to be out last night and she says, I love you and everything like that. It's nice because I've not heard that offer for a long time. And I look and I think actually she's blessed me, it's nice. It's nice for her to talk nice things about me instead of judging me because I used to use a lot. She helped me with my detox in January when I got clean. So when I had a bit of a slip, and I went to Bible college. So yeah, that was a tough time for me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think that that situation influenced you to be the fighter that you are? Because obviously, I know that's something that you're kind of moving past now. But when you were like,
Yeah,
a very tough individual, I mean, do you
yeah.
think that situation played a part in you wanting to be that person and wanting to be,
Yeah, I
the
kind
person?
of. Like when you see, I used to, because I love boxing. I love the boxing world. I love the bodybuilding because I've done it for a long time.
Yeah,
And I look at the box on social media. I've got a lot of friends on social media that box. and I kind of wanted to be a somebody, a somebody that I really am not. I wanted to be like a social media perception, to reach out and be like a big guy and be this and that, and everybody notices. When really, I just think social media is actually very negative, and I've kind of took a little bit of a step away from it at the minute, because the more I get into my godly side to the story and reading, I think it can be a negative and a way to sin through social media, because if I get a negative comment, I used to act on that, and I'd get into arguments with people, I'd fall out with them. And I think this is just social media. When I look at the boxing from the pro boxers as well, like the big boxers like Tyson Fury and that, if he loses, like people slate him that haven't even stepped in the ring. They're probably sat in a pub drinking, and I get it, because I've been there. And you think, no, these guys train hard. We all train hard. I train hard for my camps, but my camps today are different now. It's a blessing for my coach today that I've got. And little things, I still have to have a coach, even though I try and help people and I train kids. And I train people from my partner's gym. So to do things like that today is a blessing as well. But I'm just trying to build it up so that I can set up my business eventually, which is my boxing club. So that's a blessing to me as well, through my partner's gym. So yeah, but it's just trying to get the customers in at the minute. I'm getting a few in, but I'm kind of like doing it to help them really with that suffer. These younger kids have got really bad mental health that I train, and to get them off the phones for an hour unboxing is amazing. And they're on the pads, and we've got some bags up, and I do like a little circuit for them, and they love it. And that inspires me, because I think my calling from God is to help the younger generation that are growing up. Because I was attacked at a young age. I was bullied at school because my mum and dad had a Range Rover, because my dad set up a business, and it went really well. My dad was really good at what he did. He was the second best engineer in the world as well, which I didn't know till a few months ago. So then he opened a plumbing business, and I was a plumber and gas engineer for about 10 years. But really, was I doing it because I enjoyed the job? No, I enjoyed the money, because it was the money that I could use to go and use, and be around that. I was going to work not under the influence. I was not in a stable way and state of mind like I am today. So that was crazy, the things I've done when I've been doing that kind of work. And, to do things for money, money is the root to all evil, like it says in the Bible. And I truly believe that, because the more money you've got, the more sinning you want to do, I believe. I'm quite happy now that I've got little, less is more to me.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's kind of where I am. I always say less is more today. I'm grateful for little things today, which I'd never be grateful for. Like waking up in a warm bed to put my washing on. I would never do my washing. My mum used to do my washing. But today I do everything. Like I cook, I do my dieting. I'm very strict and in a routine where I look at stuff and I think I've still got that addictive personality in my recovery, but it's not a bad thing to be doing as long as you're doing it right.
absolutely. It's what you use it for. Yeah, I mean, you can channel yourself into a positive or into a
Yeah,
negative and use that energy. But there's some great messages in here, mate. Really great life lessons. I meant
yeah,
to go back to one other thing you said though. Is obviously when I speak to you now, you seem very calm and very peaceful. But you said earlier about the anger and about like, if people said something to you on the socials, you'd be at them and all of this. And probably the
yeah,
same in life, in real life as well. When it comes to God
yeah.
helping you master your anger, I'm curious to talk about that process because it's something that gets people in hot water all of the time, and then they look back and think, and I've been there myself, by the way, and you look back and you just think, oh, why did I say that? Why did I do that? It's not worth it. And it has consequences that just go on and on and on. When if you just step back and
Yeah,
being cool for a minute, it
yeah.
wouldn't take you to that place. So your advice for people who are struggling with, their tempers, their anger, and having that fire in your belly, what would you say to those people who are struggling with, shall we say, anger management? Even though I don't like labels, but that sort of concept.
Yeah, where the to people that are like get that are angry and they're out doing doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, I just think to myself, there's a better life for you out there, but how badly do you want that life? Do you want to run around for money? Do you want to bully people, go out robbing people? Because a lot of people live their life by doing that,
Yeah,
and I think, no, there's a whole better life for you, but not a lot of people, as you well know yourself, Liam, will turn to God. They're always against God. I was talking to a few of my friends last night, actually, that I met, and I met up with them, and they was like, Andy, don't try. So I've got crosses and everything on me. So I've got little wooden crosses in my bum bag and stuff that I carry with my wallet. And I get them out to people. I go, "Do you want one of these?" And they're like, "No, no, no, mate. You're not getting me into that godly side." Which I kind of get. You can't turn people to God, but you can always inspire them by the way you've changed. And to help them. So I always say that there's a better life for you out there, but how badly do you want it? Because I know I wanted it really bad when I was in a mess. And I would have gone to any lengths like I did in my addiction to get myself where I am today. I've still got a long way to go and a lot to learn, but I know I'm getting better as the days go by and stronger.
yeah. Well, that's it. Thanks to God's help, you're on the upward spiral now instead of the
Yeah,
downward spiral. So
definitely.
big thing. Okay, last couple of things then. Last sort of hand two three things. You mentioned earlier about like the training side, and you want to build up the training, and you want to get more people into like teaching them and things like that. So are you doing that like in your area, or how does it work? Because I'm going to put the shout out here to anybody who's watching this who wants to train with Andy, guys. You can give him a shout out, and you can come train with him. And
Yeah,
also, sorry, I think hold on, you frozen there a minute.
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you back now. I got you now. Yeah, it froze for a minute. Don't worry,
Yeah,
Zoom
yeah.
does that. But yeah, sorry. Carry on with what you were saying, mate.
Well, so what was you saying? Say that again, Liam. Sorry about that because I couldn't hear you all because the rain's bad as well. But
No worries. I was just saying about like building up the training, and I was actually just putting a shout out to people listening to this, saying that they can come and train with you, and saying that if they have questions
oh yeah,
about addiction,
yeah,
as
yeah.
well,
I've had a lot of people like message me. The people are messaging me lately and asking me to help them with the boxing, and that's nice, because people will slate me for my boxing because I've lost fights, and I think, why don't you go in and step in that ring and fight? Because it it's hard, It's hard when I come off a loss, but I pray and I think, you know what? The guy was a better boxer. He's trained harder. I don't get easy opponents as well, and I don't. I always get a tough opponent, but these opponents that I get are some of my best friends today. One of my opponents that I fought in the pro game had actually asked me to fight on his show in September. So that's a blessing to me today. People like that. Asking me if I can fight on the show and be a part of their show. Things like that I'm getting today, which I wouldn't have got in my past. I was looking for fights in my past, whereas today I don't have to. People are asking me, and I'm thinking, I have to pray about it because I can get obsessed with that and think, no, I have to keep calm because I need to start stepping away from that life now.
yeah.
But I do believe, like in the boxing, like it says in Psalm 144, I think it's verse 6, God prepares our hands for battle and our fingers for war. So I look at it and I think, well, actually, that's a good psalm to read because it's kind of about war when we're in war with boxing. And that's a war when you're in the ring between you and him. It's a war. Unfortunately, your friendship goes aside, even though you show respect before. But in that ring for that amount of time, whether you're doing 4 3-minute rounds in the pro game or you're doing 3 2-minute rounds in the unlicensed.
Last couple of things, mate, and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
I
on.
mean,
Yeah.
when it comes to your future, have you ever thought about writing a book or something about your life? Because there's a lot of things
You-
out there that are your other people's version of your story, but there's not enough of like your version of your story, which is why I wanted to do this.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
It, it's like you mentioned about the shadow box. Me and Shadowbox are very good friends today. You know, he's quite a good guy, you know. We set the fight up to be the way it was, you know. It was great to be a part of it, and he wants me to go back over and do part of something else that he's filming. So you know, things like that, you know, friendships that I've made today is great. So carry on, Liam. Sorry, because I know that you mentioned Shadowbox, and I thought, well, he's become one of my friends today, you know. It's crazy. Like Jimmy Justice Miller, you know, I know him, you know, through the Shadow Boxer.
Yeah,
So he's quite a good boxer, you know, and the people that I've met today are a blessing in my life, you know.
yeah,
So I respect anybody that steps in the ring that's boxing out there, you know, respect to anyone. There's no losers out there as well when they're boxing and they're training and they're going through the camps because it's hard work. You know, and my partner that bodybuilds, she competes, you know, the things that she goes through, she has to be so strict with a diet, and I have to be with mine. You know, I've got a diet plan. I've actually got her coach now coaching me my diet plan, and she has to be doing the same thing every day. So it's like an addiction for my partner as well, you know. Um, so I look at people and I think, well, they're addicted to work. They can be addicted. My dad's addicted to work. I look at addiction in so many ways now, whereas before I never did because I was lost. You know, today I'm not. I'm not lost. I know where my life's going, and my life's just getting better. You know, like Mark 11:20, Mark 11:24, or Mark 24 verse 11 says, "When you pray, believe, and it shall be given to you." You know, I believe that. You know, because everything you pray for, so long as it's not praying for money and things like that, things have come truly at Liam. You know, and I think, wow, it actually shocks me. You know, when I pray about my brother and my family that I've lost. I actually feel my brother's presence, like he's touching me. It's very powerful to me when I pray. You know, it doesn't matter where you pray. You know, I can pray in my car right now, uh, and you can because you think, wow, this rain, it's ruining this what we're doing now. So pray about that, and it stopped.
yeah, absolutely. That's a power. I know I've experienced that firsthand as well, so I understand, but it's a really good message.
Yeah,
The other thing I was saying when it throws up there as well was about like if you've ever thought of writing a book about your life, if you ever thought of like writing down your
yeah.
story, because
My dad, do you know?
go on, yeah.
No, go on. With the book side of this thing, it's actually crazy that you've said that because my dad was saying to me, "Oh, I'd like to get you on. I'm a celebrity." Get this. Well, I was like, "Dad, you're being daft." But I kind of get where he's coming from to try and put me in something like that from where my life is today, from where it was. But my dad, I have actually thought about it because me and my dad have spoke about it. He says, "Why don't you write a book, Andy, about your life and where you've been and everything you've gone through to inspire people that maybe stuck in addiction that want a new lease of life?" Because there's a lot of people out there that want it. You know, I talk to people on the street, the homeless people. I love the homeless people, you know, because I talk to them, I now bless them, you know. I try not to give a
Let's talk about the homeless one more time, and then we'll
yeah, yeah. Can you
we were
hear me
talking
now?
about,
Yeah,
yeah,
go
I
on.
got you. I got you. So we'll talk about the homeless, and we'll talk about your book, and then we'll wrap it up from there because then
Yeah,
we've
cool.
talked about. But that's I'd love to talk about that, mate, because it was really good what you were sharing at that
Yeah.
point when we dropped off. So the homeless, and you were saying about your dad saying you should be on I'm a Celebrity and all that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I'm like, "What, Dad? What you on about?" You know, because I think I'm not a celebrity, and I think I can reach out and help others because hopefully I maybe could in some kind of way because I've changed my life today. And it'd be amazing if I could reach out and do a book where people would actually, you know, I don't even want money from it. I do it for free. If it-
I hope you do, mate. I hope you do. Um,
Yeah, it'd
because
be nice to do that. If I could get into.
so
Oh,
Andy,
we're
because
back
of
on Liam now.
yeah, we're back on. So, because of the signal, mate, because of the signal, I'm gonna wrap it there. But I don't want you to have any bad feelings because we've done a great, we've had good 40, 45 minutes, something like that,
Yeah,
of a
yeah.
chat, and we've got the message out there, which is what I want to do is just help people to heal, help them get
Amen. Yeah.
closer to God, Amen, and show the real Andy behind the headlines. Not what people think you are, but what you really are. So I just want to say a big thank you for that, mate, and a big
And
thank you for everything you've shared. it up there, brother, and I'm going to say God bless you and thank you so, so much for your time, okay?
No, Liam, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to talk to you and to get my message out there. I appreciate everything you've done, so thank you.
You're
And to
very
anybody out there that's struggling, you know, send me a message if you're struggling. I help wherever I can.
absolutely. And I'll send this to you when I release it as well, so we can share it and we can get it out to as
Yeah,
many people.
I'd
But yeah,
appreciate that,
God
Liam.
bless you, Andy. God
Yeah, God
bless you.
bless you, Liam. Thank you ever so much, buddy. I appreciate that. Thank you for the help and having me on. It's been a
My
pleasure.
pleasure.
All
My
right, God
pleasure.
bless you, mate. Bye bye.
God
Thank you.
bless. Bye bye.
Have a
Take
good
care.
day. God bless. Bye bye.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.